Okay, it is 7 p.m. Welcome to the February 28th, the second meeting in February of the Board of Trustees, Village of Ballston Spa. We are going to begin, please, with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we are multimedia tonight. Just a couple of things. We're in person and we're also running via Zoom. I was telling Carla this is where being pretty nearsighted works for you. I have no idea what's up there, but in any event, people could be making funny ears, and I would know. Okay, but I want to thank the village staff who has set this up and gone to great lengths to make sure that it's working, and let's hope that it does. All right, and doesn't give us any trouble, because it certainly has been a lot of attention paid to setting it up. And we welcome those who are joining us by Zoom. So may I have a motion to adopt the minutes of the 2/14/22 meeting of the Board of Trustees?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Trustee Raymond. May I have a second? Second made by Trustee Cormos. All in favor? Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. All right, I just have a couple of announcements. I wanted to say that we had an issue last week regarding snow removal on a route to school, which is Malta Avenue and Chapman Street. And we had numerous complaints in Village Hall about people. We actually had, I understand, a couple of people who fell. It was hard for the kids and the parents along those routes to school, those particular streets of route to school. I know that there was a very, very serious snowstorm with a lot of ice. I know that it was problematic for people, but we did have these complaints, and for this, we do have an enforcement issue. So we posted, and by posted, I mean that DPW goes out and puts notices on people's houses that they have 24 hours to mitigate the problem, either get up the snow, or cover it with ice melt and sand, and work on it in some way to make it more passable. The route, so they give them 24 hours, they post, it's a very involved process. It took DPW a good part of the day. They take pictures of the sidewalk to show that it has been a problem. They take a picture of the house. They post it, they provide the village code that applies to it. And then and this was in response to complaints. The way the rules work, people complain and have to complain. And we had numerous complaints regarding Chapman Street and Malta Avenue. So it went on pretty much on a Thursday. The nearest time that we had to wait 24 hours. So by the end of the day on Friday was when DPW could have gone back. They did not, because it was Friday at 4 o'clock. Over the weekend, people worked. We had a couple of things that worked in our favor. We had warmer weather, and people definitely worked on the property. Understand that there are some people that are they posted 28 houses. There are some people who are just recalcitrant. That's my walk to work. I have not, I was walking in the street to allow Malta Avenue mostly to allow the children and the parents to use the sidewalk to the best of their ability. So at the end of the day, when DPW went back, there were, I believe, 4 houses by this time who had not done any kind of remediation. So they cleared those spots, and they are going to charge them for the time, 4 times the time that it took them to the hourly rate, or whatever percentage of an hour it took them to remove that. So just so you know that this is, you know, this happens. It was in response. I know there was a considerable amount of anger from people on Malta and Chapman Street. I mean, I live on Chapman Street. I hate to have my neighbors. I hate to have anybody really angry, but certainly not, you know, my neighbors, my immediate neighbors. But one of my immediate neighbors is a real problem. Never, you know, there are people, and if you walk in this village, like the people who walk to school, and like I do all the time, you get to know the people who really don't make any kind of an effort. And that's really who this was designed at. So that is the enforcement. It worked out well this time. After this last snowstorm, I've walked both sides of, well, there's at least a couple on Malta Avenue that may still be problematic, but it is a vast improvement. So this is all a learning process for everybody, and apparently, I guess, I hope at least the lesson was learned. But that was the background on that, and it came from, just so folks know, it came from multiple complaints. Before, and those particular streets are important because they're prone to having more complaints because they're routes to schools. They're very widely. All right, the only other thing I have is on the email. There is now on the website, you can find under, if you go under municipal and then you go under Board of Trustees, you can find the email addresses of the mayor and the Board of Trustees. And then underneath that listing, there are names, and there's now a message on it that says, click on the name and you can send an email through the website. You could always send an email to the website, but there was not clear direction on how to go about that. Now above the grid where all our names are listed, it says click on the name to send an email. And also the actual emails are listed so that if anybody wants to write them down and then go back on their own computer, not work through the village website, they're free to do that too. They have a listing of the email and they can go and they are able to, you know, write to them because they now have the email address. Okay, so that's mayor announcements. The next up is the treasurer's report, please. Ms. Smith.
Okay, so as I spoke about last meeting, I began the reimbursement process of that final part, otherwise known as the Saratoga Avenue project, through DASME. There's a few more pieces of paperwork I need to collect and submit, and then the reimbursement for $103,885 should follow soon. Wrapping up on January's reconciliation, there's a few numbers that stood out a little bit more. The county sales tax for January was $115,220. This is an 18% increase from December's sales tax. The village received half of the funding for this New York State Archives, LGRNIS, otherwise known as the Budget Management Grant funding, equating to $58,079. The remaining 40% of funds will be released once the work is near completion, and the last 10% of the funds being released when the work is completed. To date, the expenses through January should equate to 67% of the overall budget. General funds at 62%, sewer funds at 68%, and the library fund is at 59%. Overall, we're doing pretty well, staying on track with this. I did speak with the auditors last week and received confirmation that the audit is wrapping up. We did have to update engagement letters for our Section 8 single audit and submit the information through the certification system before moving forward with finishing up the village audit I'm hoping to have that final report shortly. And just for upcoming events in March, unpaid water and sewer bills will receive penalty on March 3rd if payment is not received by end of business hours on March 2nd. The village should be receiving reimbursement for CHIPS, or the Consolidated Highway Improvement Program, in the amount of $137,899 around March 16th. Budget workshops with scheduled department heads will be held tomorrow, being the 1st, the 8th, and the 10th. So I believe tomorrow will be DPW, court, and library. And then unpaid taxes or village taxes sent to the county are expected to come in shortly. I actually just received Ballston today. And then the tentative budget will be filed by March 18th, so that will go publicly shortly.
Okay. Thank you, Treasurer Smith. Do we have any old business?
Question about the audit. So the 2021 is way late.
Yep.
What are we doing to prevent that? Are we looking at other auditing firms?
We definitely will look at other auditing firms, and I actually spoke with our accountants about that, and it's unfortunately a widespread, widespread thing across accountants, specifically municipal accountants or auditors. So he said it's pretty common that they're backed up, especially now, but I will be looking into other auditing firms for next year. Yeah. No, when we originally went with these auditors, this will be the second year that we had, the second year that we have dealt with them, but this is the second year for the Section 8 audit, single audit, first year for village audit. So there are other auditors that I used to speak to in previous years that we did this work. That was the intention. At this point, I'm really just trying to get that report and then resume later. So they're still free to do that, but I don't have confirmation on the date.
Both years or just
the first year is basically verifying the numbers that were on the audit, on the AUD, and therefore once they verify those, they'll do it on the 2021. No, they're almost wrapped up with it. Both years. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to have some presentations this evening. And the first, these are on the website under the various departments. These are departmental reports. And the first up is Terry O'Connor, who is village clerk.
This is the village clerk's office. The village clerk's office provides many services, including issuing or conduction certificates for residents active in the village, handicap tags for cars for residents of the village, issuing permits other than building permits, handling FOIL requests, creating the meeting minutes for the Board of Trustees meeting, and handling personnel records, insurance claims, conducting certain training programs, and general questions, complaints, concerns for residents, directing them to the appropriate department. The village clerk is also the records management officer, the election officer, and the registrar of life. Department demographics. I am the only full-time person in my department, and part-time job. Birth certificates, and this is for 2021. Birth certificates issued in 2021, number 37. Death certificates issued in 2021, 31. General permit process in 2021, 28. I'm also involved in projects such as annual renewal of employee benefits, and open enrollment upcoming ongoing projects, as most of you know, there's a special election on March 15th, so I can put it on that. And the record management program, which you've heard of, for which we received a grant of $115,000, shared with the fire department to organize decades worth of records in village office. I don't really have the upcoming because I'm in our work area. I do not write on there. And important information the public needs to know. My office is open Monday through Friday, including holidays, from 6:30 to 11 p.m.
Thank you, Professor Connor. Okay. And we also have the village administrator, Jen Moskowitz.
Please forgive me for wearing a mask. I'm not quite there yet, so that's my comfort level right now. I hope you all can hear me. I don't usually have a problem projecting. The purpose of the village administrator was created to streamline communications and operations for the activities that take place across the village hall. This means that the village administrator is involved in numerous different projects and problem-solving activities, particularly those assigned by the mayor. My department demographics for me. My name is Jennifer Moskowitz. I'm the only staff member in my department. A typical day at my desk involves answering numerous emails from community members and community leaders and attending various meetings that are both informational in purpose as well as operational in nature. There's also a good deal of research that goes on at my desk. As an example, I'm assisting with the implementation of the risk management program. As a member of that team, I was tasked with ordering supplies needed for implementation of the grant. While placing those orders, it turns out that the original quotes, which were 2 years old, were no longer accurate. For example, the cost of wine has gone up $600. In my past to getting these wines ordered, I was involved in online research, several phone conversations, and very long conversations with the tax department at Home Depot. The entire process took about half a day's work, and that's the kind of time that goes into an operations project. As a second example, in July, I received a call from a concerned parent about conditions over at Kelly Park. This was literally like my second case. After listening to this village residents' issues, I drove over to the park to gather more information on my own. I then spoke with various community members about their ideas and plans for the park. I spoke with the mayor, and it became a long-term project as nothing is cheap or free, and there was no money in the budget for part of it. So when National Grid called Village Hall stating that they wanted to spend the volunteer day working on a project to better the village, I had a ready list of things that Kelly Park needed, and on September 17th, a team from National Grid showed up and put in 7 hours of free labor. They did all the supplies and equipment to help get Kelly Park back in shape. Coordinating that took at least 4 days worth of my time altogether to execute, coordinate, and communicate everything that needed to be done to get that particular operation done. My duties are many and varied and require me to pivot at any given time in any given direction based on the needs of the residents of the village as well and the village hall administration. Upcoming and ongoing projects, I've recently taken on the task of editing a web page. So please, if you see any typos or anything, let me know. I was also asked to direct coordination of the Easter egg hunt in the spring and falling leaves in the fall. I'm also assisting with the implementation of the representative program that I previously mentioned, which should begin next month. Upcoming needs, I don't have any. So if any of you need something, please ask me. Feel free to reach out to me. Important information the public would need to know. My email address is long but simple. It's villageadmin@villagehall.org. My phone number is the same as Village Hall, 518-885-5711. My name is Jen Moskowitz, and if you need something from Village Hall, or if you have questions about activities, or simply don't know who to call, you can call me. It's my job to facilitate the communication between various departments and the residents.
Okay, thank you, Jen.
Here, I just have
Sure.
what's the volume of calls that might come in on average in a day? I know it varies tremendously, but it's just roughly like whether it's for departments, for you guys directly, for the mayor,
we also, a lot of times, honestly, most calls are to the county, and there are a lot of calls to the county, because that's who we are. You know, they look it up and default to the top, they just assume, but, it does vary, it's time of year, it varies, you know, water bill time, taxes, time to get a lot more calls. I really can't give you an exact number, it rings off, but again, a lot of times.
But even that involves time
Yeah.
and communication,
Yeah.
right?
Is there anything that would make your job easier that we could, the board could do?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, I think we're have it on the.
Sounds good.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. All right, and now we have Marilyn, am I pronouncing this right? Stevenson, sorry. And Marilyn is from our very hardworking, comprehensive plan steering committee, and she's going to talk to us about, for a couple of minutes about.
Do you mind if I sit and get the report from here, or?
That's absolutely fine,
Okay,
as long as everybody can hear you.
Hopefully my voice will cut out. I'm Marilyn Stevenson, live right in the village, 45 West High Street, and I am a member of the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. And I'm presenting this report tonight on behalf of our chair, Karen Martell, who could not be with us tonight. The steering committee has been formed to work in conjunction with a professional planning consultant to identify and study several topics over the course of the next year. It's actually going to be less than that. It's my understanding that the steering committee has been meeting for a little while. I joined it in early November. A committee of 14 volunteers meets twice a month to discuss and analyze a category of concerns that have already been predetermined for this process. And then we develop a list of guidelines to address those concerns. The guidelines then will shape a final plan for approval by the village board of trustees. We have covered the following categories of concerns in the past few months as part of this comprehensive planning steering committee process. Government built infrastructure, which is relating to the village of Ballston infrastructure. Those would be buildings and assets, hard assets the village has. Uncontrolled forces, which is another name for unpredictable things like climate change and other things that we have other nations. And the built environment of the village, and that's predominantly our historic architecture and ambiance in the village, and discussed that just last month. As an example, in the topic of uncontrolled forces, we discussed concerns about how climate change might impact the shifts in population to the village and away from other communities that are impacted negatively by climate change. As you know, with climate change, the prediction is we're getting wetter and warmer. And last year was a good example of the wetter part. And warmer, it could just be a 1 degree change each year relative to what we're experiencing with changes in our climate change may influence the village's demand for increasing energy for homeowners, for businesses, or municipal applications. We can position the village as a leader to demonstrate the use of clean energy, new technology, environmentally sound building practices for new housing, businesses, village properties, and those traveling to the village for tourism or commerce. As we've noticed recently, surrounding our community, there are charging stations for the new vehicles that people are buying. So some vendors in the area are installing those, and the thought of possibly having something like that in the village of Ballston was one of the topics we discussed. We also discussed the need for affordable high-speed internet and fiber optic service in the village. That was ever more important during the last 2.5 years of COVID, where people worked at home, or kids had to go to school at home. We didn't have access to, high-speed internet. To support the trend from working at home, the need for more of those businesses in the village to be more of the village business to be conducted through technology. As an example, paying water bills and taxes through an enhanced, secured online web page or web portal, as well as increasing IT capacity on the village staff. In March, we will begin the discussion of housing, followed monthly by utility infrastructure, stormwater management, economic considerations, and social considerations as part of the comprehensive planning process. Beginning in August, we will discuss the vision statement for the comprehensive plan, followed by a discussion on zoning, and then a discussion in October to see where our vision and the reality of the real world might clash as it relates to the village. We're currently finalizing our review of the responses to the request for proposals for the planning consultant. We hope to present our recommendations to the Board of Trustees in March, very soon. We are planning to have a planning consultant on board, if what the trustees agree to, in early April. The comprehensive plan draft should be ready by September or early October for public comment and review by the steering committee. And as has been for all of the meetings of the steering committee, we welcome the public's attendance at our meetings, either in person or through Zoom. Our meetings are held at 50 West High Street in the large meeting room at the Cornell Cooperative Extension Building on West High Street here. We meet at 7 o'clock on the first and third Thursday of each month. And your input is welcome. Zoom links are also posted on the village website. And it's my understanding that every time we do have a Zoom meeting, the link to that recorded meeting is posted on the village website by Julia. And there is the information there for all of our discussions, so you can see it after the fact. Again, the topic is presented at the first meeting, and the second meeting of each topic is our strategy or identification of things that we are going to recommend. So with that, I'll just say it's been enjoyable working on the committee, and again, the public is invited to become engaged in the process.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Stevenson. I have to say that I am very impressed with the comprehensive plan steering committee, how thoroughly they have approached their work. They're very thorough, they're very diligent, and they're providing a great service to the community. And you have been meeting, in foul weather and fair, and certainly you have, public has many opportunities for access, because in addition to recordings on the website, we also have your minutes of all of the meetings. So there's a great deal of information on your work, and I thank you personally and the rest of the committee for the work they're doing, which is very important. There's a lot that's hanging on the comprehensive plan. We need to complete our comprehensive plan in order to do some other things. I mean, besides the fact that it's an important exercise for any municipality to engage in, we have to, in order to move forward on certain things, we need an up-to-date comprehensive plan. So thank you very much. Do I have any other questions or comments from anybody, any other board member?
I would just, again, reiterate, thank you for all your efforts. Your volunteerism is greatly appreciated. And I know it takes a lot of time and effort.
You can say that back to the group.
Yeah.
And the group is really a varied group. in age and background, which I think is, led to some very interesting stuff.
You anticipate doing how you say the public?
Yes, yes, that's the whole focus of after we go through these thematic discussions of these topics and proposed strategies through the help of a consultant. There will be that public outreach component, and we're hoping the public will engage because that's really the important part of it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for those very informative reports. Now we're going to go through our next. May I have a motion to approve the budget transfers that were attached to the agenda? Have that motion? Motion made by Trustee Cormos. May I have a second, please? Second by Trustee Baskin. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, opposed? Okay, motion carries. May I have a motion for the library be authorized to expend the amount of $10,000 for professional services, which is going to be a master plan for the library. It will be taken from line item L74110.4. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Trustee Raymond. May I have a second? Second. Do we have any questions, comments? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Motion carries. All right. I have next on the agenda Trustee Liaison Report.
I guess I'll start.
Okay. Trustee Raymond.
I prepared a statement to a DPW-related issue that's come up. But come to my attention, there's been statements put out on social media implying the status of our existing water supply is in jeopardy. I wanted to clarify for the public the actual status of the village water system and assuage any fears the public may now have about our water supply as a result of the statements. First point would be, as Mayor Fitzpatrick has previously said in other village board meetings, our water supply is clean, safe, and is tested regularly by our DPW staff. Mayor Fitzpatrick has made this next statement several times. However, I feel the need to restate that the water pumps in need of replacement have been ordered and will be installed by a contractor shortly after delivery. Delivery has been delayed due to global supply chain issues associated with the pandemic, but we anticipate delivery in 2 months. Currently, the existing pumps are working satisfactorily, and their output is sufficient to meet existing needs. Now, based on a conversation I had earlier today with the village engineer, which is Ballston Associates, I want to make it very clear that the village is not, I repeat, not in danger of a water shortage, nor will it be for some time. Based on the Wellfield evaluation study issued in December 2021, our current water supply is more than sufficient to meet our needs. The redevelopment of Well 4A, as described in the Wellfield study and previously recommended by the village engineer, is a preventative maintenance measure. And there's no critical need at this time to perform that treatment to maintain sufficient water output levels. The other point I want to make is the John Street water tower was assessed approximately 5 years ago, and at that time identified as needing repair or replacement in the future. However, it was not deemed in critical condition, therefore not in danger of failure. Cost estimates were included in that report. However, no RFPs, which is a request for bids, were issued subsequent to the report that was completed in 2017 by former Mayor Romano or former Mayor Fulbright. December 2021, Mayor Fitzpatrick requested current board members, including myself, to develop an RFP, and it was issued in January 2022. The RFP's purpose was to study our water system, determining its existing and future needs, including updating existing water infrastructure, mapping, and our hydraulic model. In addition, analysis of repair or replacement of John Street Tower with an updated assessment that need to be done every 5 years, and cost estimates, including alternatives to improve output, storage, pressure, and distribution. In conclusion, to imply the possibility of water shortage or the state of our water supply infrastructure will soon be in jeopardy is unfounded and inaccurate. That's my statement.
Thank you, Trustee Raymond. Okay, and you'll provide that to the clerk? Okay, great, thank you. All right, anybody, any other trustee liaison reports?
Just that all the committees and the nonprofits that we support have returned their requests.
Time.
And the property board has been primarily discussed their budget requests and other budget requests from other organizations.
Okay, and they're on the 8th and the 10th? 10th.
I think the last.
Right, okay. All right. Thank you. I mean, I know that's written down someplace because I wrote it, but I have a lot of dates going around. Okay. All right. Do I have anybody want to raise any issue of other business?
Just want to thank you for putting on our email that
You're very welcome, Trustee Baskin, but trust me, I'm not the one who deals with the technology. It was Ms. Moskowitz who did it. Okay. All right. No other any other business? Okay. All right, then I open the floor to public comment, and I guess why don't we take the I guess we'll take the people in the room first, so that the people at the end on Zoom have time to weigh in. So, do we have anybody, any public comments? And the limit is 4 minutes, please. Yes. Yes. Please state your name and your address. Yes.
Andy Ryder, 930 Station Ballston. I can't remember the meeting, so sorry to interrupt. I apologize. But some friends who I was coming to get me to bring stuff paper, it would be nice if the village could put blue and yellow night lights on the village office in support of the thing. So I said I would, as so many other villages.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll consider that. Okay. Anybody else who's here? Yes. Mr. Rossi?
Frank Rossi Jr., 64 Avenue, Apartment B, Ballston spot. I appreciate Trustee Raymond bringing up the water situation. As he said, it's been an interesting discussion back and forth, one that's probably overdue for our village to hear about. And I'm glad that we put attention to it in the election discussion that's been going on. I too have been doing some discussions with people that are very familiar with the water situation, namely our most recent 2 mayors, who have told me how well 4 works, its perennial problems, its production issues, what's been done to resolve them along the way. This is every 7-year issue, according to one of them, and it takes about $10,000 to do an ultrasonic type of blast that will clear the well to allow it to have its correct production level. If you don't do it, it will clog. And further, if it clogs a lot, it may not be resolved through the ultrasonic procedure. The longer you wait to do it, the worse the situation gets. I found your quote here to be interesting, that water production is not in danger of shortage, quote, nor will it be for some time. That's a statement that there could be, if we don't act, a water shortage at some future time, which is exactly what I've been saying and others as well. And that should be a concern. And what are we doing about it besides study after study after study after study to study to study? It's not appropriate when we know some of what is wrong and what can be resolved. So just sitting there and doing a paralysis by analysis procedure, which is where we are right now, is risking the business of water production, sales, whatever you want to call it, because it is a business. We're giving it to outside municipalities at triple value. That's what we're selling water to Milton and Ballston outside of our boundaries for, triple value. If someday they turn on their faucet and they don't have water, or we're rationing for some reason, then it's on us as the business owner per se, and what happens to that business down the line. We rely on our water for a little too much in terms of the money we make from it. And for us to take such a callous attitude for something as important as water really astounds me. There are things that can be done. We have the funds from ARPA, which is public federal funds that for folks that don't understand all these acronyms. So why aren't we doing the things we can be doing right now? Nobody's saying don't study the $2 million item. What we're saying is act on the $50,000 or $10,000 item, just as it's been for years. If there's a longer term solution, we can figure that out, but don't jeopardize your community in the meantime. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else in the, yes. Yes, I'm sorry.
First, I want to thank Terry and Jennifer for all their hard work and kind of deal with either of you, especially Terry, for your many years of service and knowledge. It's just so important. It's a really important service to our village. I wanted to ask about, we have these properties that remain vacant and community development. And at one point, it was brought up that there'd be a moratorium. And after public outrage from it, essentially from all sorts of people, it was back. But then a effort to create a PDD legislation started. Where is that? That now is just sitting. Not that I personally want to see it come forward, but I think right now, because it is out there to the public, it essentially acts as a moratorium. People are concerned, don't want to spend money in the community if they think they're going to be restricted by it. And I sat through one of the workshops, and it sounds pretty restrictive. So some resolution would be great, one way or the other. I know people are interested in moving our village forward, so thank you.
Okay, anybody else here? I thought there was somebody in the back row. Yes. Okay.
No. We got to show you a report. I'm not mistaken, that could be wrong. When I also was speaking, the more reserved for schools, businesses. I don't know. I asked a few questions at these meetings in the past, so I'm receiving answers. As a board, you must have either two beforehand. Maybe there maybe didn't understand them. Perhaps maybe you not know the answer to them, you look it up, but forgot to get back. Whatever the reason is, the whole time never received a response. My questions were, what exactly is the revenue that is taken in from the water bill paid for? Why isn't that revenue coming from the water system? This will be the last time I ask these questions because there is no board wants to answer. So, on to a more important question. I'll ask you this. You guys have mentioned several times about planning. All these studies for planning are needed forward to applying for grants that pay for all the things the village needs, such as infrastructure, sidewalks, parks, things such as that. And all these plannings you are doing, you have failed on one aspect, and that is what money is going to pay for the maintenance, repair, and replacement of the water system that currently is generating revenue in the future, such as 5, 10, 20 years down the road, so our children and future residents are not in the predicament they are now, waiting on grants to pay for these things. What is the plan? Our water system that residents from the outside of our customers are paying for should absolutely pay for itself. It shouldn't be used for other things unless there's more money that is overflow. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Another one. Yeah.
Oh, good. Sorry, I apologize for late. I was driving up North Bay. You should know the audio quality. We can hear you wherever your microphone is, but we couldn't really hear the comprehensive presentation.
Oh, okay.
I am so glad Trustee Raymond just brought up the whole social media topic, because that's exactly what I wanted to speak about tonight.
I'm sorry, would you state your name and?
Ashley Carlin, 365 Milton Avenue, Ballston Spa, New York. So I came prepared, and I got sidetracked hearing Trustee Raymond pontificate about the information that needed to be relayed responsibly. So I'm going to try to stay focused here. The public often hears about transparency in government, and there is tremendous opportunity to use technology in this day and age to build trust, to create transparency, to interact and educate. We know this. This is an amazing time that we live in. But I do suggest, especially to the village attorneys, that it is time to adopt federal, state, county, local guidelines for public officials in the social space. And Mayor Fitzpatrick, I believe in all my heart the comment that you made on your video when you said they don't understand the complexity was not delivered with the intent to dumb down the rest of us. But it does come across that way when there is a superiority attitude and an assumption that you live in a community, you serve in a community where the rest of us are undereducated or underinformed. A productive dialogue is helpful in any state. And when we have trustees sitting in front of us, who we all know are co-administrators of public groups who do not identify themselves as public servants, we have a problem. Because when you choose to be a public servant, the key word is public. So you're in or you're out. So rather than pontificate, well, I want to set the record straight, the groups that you're co-admitting in, share with all of the public those very facts. When I comment transparently and ask questions, does anybody know about the water study? Y'all ignored me. Don't sit in a meeting and tell the misinformation in social media when you are in a position
to have a good, valid conversation, because this group should be mitigating risk, and I'm sure the village attorney would attest to the fact that you're opening a can of worms. Rather than trash your neighbors or assume people like me were hired to do voter fraud, the truth is you can ask me about the work that I do. I work with special needs families, and I'm still privately hired by clients and businesses to help with social media, to do public relations, to edit writing, to set up websites. This is not anything malicious, but the trustees, especially you trustees foremost, found it okay to just try to sensationalize, misinform, misrepresent, and put this whole board at risk. Think, public information is a responsibility. Stop hiding, be public servants, and we know it's a tough job. You signed up for that, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, Arlen, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, yes?
Oh, I had a much more controlled conversation, but this is
Thank you for bringing up that people are paying 3 times the amount of water. My mother is just across the village line in the town of Ballston. She's been paying 3 times that amount since I don't even know how tall I was, about 1985 or so. She deserves to know what the hell is going on. Those pumps, she's uphill. I'm not, I'm gonna have water. It needs to be addressed, it needs to be fixed. My mom needs water. This isn't just business and whatnot. This is senior citizens that rely on water. With that being said, totally other issue. 2 weeks ago in the Zoom meeting, I asked a question. You haven't taken the time to email me, call me, or respond to those questions. I deserve more as a taxpayer. In regard to that, I'll bring it to the public's attention. The village has a cat nuisance law. It's written as such, not that the animal can't be outdoors. It is on the person that harbors such cat to keep it from defecating, marking, and otherwise causing a nuisance to someone else and their property. As a village of Ballston taxpayer, I should not have to go to the extreme measures I have undertaken in blocking off my porch, not only to a cat, but to people, my neighbors, my friends, anybody that wants to come to my porch. It still manages to get on it. I did not snow blow around my house this last time. I can't get to my doors. I can't get to my trash cans. I can't have access to my home because of the neighbor's cat marking it, and I'm trying to protect my property. You have a cat. I love animals 100%. And Jennifer Moskowitz, I am not going to read what you wrote to me, but it abhorred me in the email that you sent to me about some people love animals basically, but others don't find it so much. The neighbor's cat doesn't belong on my property. Yeah, I can walk it and do whatever. I'm not feeding my birds anymore because I've watched this cat eat my birds. I have bluebirds. Who has bluebirds? We have an eagle. I hope this eagle comes and takes this cat. It's horrible. I can't harm the cat. That's against the law. But you can enforce the code and talk to my neighbor and say, if you don't take care of this cat, it's a $250 fine. And keep it in your house. Or do what the neighbors do across from the fairgrounds, make a little patio so they have to be outside, so they love outside. Keep them on their property, not on mine. I can't enjoy what I've paid for, what I've worked hard for, and put a lot of money into. I don't know if you know how much masonry costs to fix the porch. I spent thousands of dollars, and now it's covered with cat food. Not just from the one cat, but now every other cat comes and marches and follows that are from other houses. This didn't happen until November. It's now almost March, and it's still occurring. Fix it. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else? Okay. Do we have anybody in the, okay.
Lori, I will give you permission to talk. If you can hear.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. This is Lori Acey. I'm resident 25 Eastern Ave in Ballston Spa. I just wanted to actually take a minute to say thank you to Mayor Fitzpatrick and to the Board of Trustees. I really appreciate some of the new communication that's been coming out from the village. I'm going into my family and I are going into our 15th year of residency in the village, and I feel like the communication has never been stronger. In fact, tonight, listening to Jen and Terry's work, getting the opportunity to listen to DPW, to the police department, to the library, to all the different areas of the village is something very new to me. And I think it's new to a lot of residents, and it's been really informative and very helpful to actually know all the many details that go on behind the scenes and all of the hardworking people of the village and the heavy lifting that they do every day. I think sometimes we can take for granted the enormity of all of your roles, and I really appreciate hearing about them as a resident. I also have enjoyed and appreciated your continuation of when Larry's communication in our water bill. I think that's very helpful. That was something that didn't exist before now. The village newsletter, The Voice, that comes out in email, the updates on the website, leading residents to different various resources, upcoming events, progress, legislation, services, important government communications, and also just soliciting ideas. These are all really new, and I think it's a drastic improvement, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Acey. Do we have anybody else?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else in the room? Okay. Yes. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Gina, it was the person behind you. Oh, okay. Very well. Gina, I'm sorry. I was unsure where the arm was coming from. Yeah. Okay.
Two quick topics. Gina Morosi, General Glory Lane, Spa. The first topic. Trustee Raymond, you've been quoting from the John Street engineering report done in 2017, and the water engineering report that was done shortly after that. I know there's a few FOIL requests in for the third report, so I'm trying to understand if they're still readily available with the delay in those reports. That's my first question. My second comment, Nancy Ryder brought up about lighting up the village hall in support of Ukraine. Several residents have approached Mark and myself because of what we did with the 9/11 display and suggested that maybe that's something that we could undertake. And if it's acceptable to the board, Mark and I we've discussed it, come up with a plan, and are happy to assist with that if you want to do it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, and we'll talk about the, okay. All right, do we have what's next? We have anybody else? I don't want anybody else here. Okay, thank you for your comments. All right, and we have board response. Anybody want to respond?
Yeah, I can respond to Mr. Bush's comments in regards to, obviously Julie is the one that knows where every dollar goes for water, but I can tell you at least some of the major places that it goes. DPW staff, the equipment to monitor and test the water, also any associated equipment for repairing and maintaining our pumps, wells, and hopefully the reason we're going for grants is because, yes, water rates pay for those things, but if we were to pay for the replacement costs of our water infrastructure through water rates, it would be pretty significant. Let's just take, for instance, an example of the water tower based on the 2017 estimate, which is a 5-year-old estimate. We replaced the water tower at about 1.9 million. So if you look at that, and it's a 10 to 15 year fix. So even if we were to finance it, we really should only finance it for 10 years, and the bank probably wouldn't give us more than 10 years. That's all repair is good for. That is $190,000 a year increase in water rates. Now, I don't know what's off the top of my head that would be, but to me, it sounds pretty significant. And I don't think that there's a lot of people in the village that would necessarily absorb that additional burden. And that's why we do go for grants, so that, you know, with a small percentage of share, we could get, you know, a large sum of money that we could do some of these large replacement projects. Hope that answers your question.
I'd like to add to that. No, sorry. I'd like to add to that that, you know, the water system, you know, there is, when we make changes to the water system, it's what we have now coming in is not, we are going to need some funding mechanism for that. I also, besides the revenues coming in, so that I'm supporting what Trustee Raymond said. The one thing Mr. Rossi reacted to was the way Trustee Raymond said about our well field capacity. I don't know any other way to say this except to say that we don't have a problem with, we are not going to have to ration water. We spoke to engineers today, with all due respect to Mayor Woolbright and Mayor Romano. They are not engineers. What is the term, Sean, for hydraulics?
Hydrogeology.
Hydrogeologists. And what they've said to me today, what they've said about our well fields is that pump 4B is a champ. We have redundancy on redundancy. We have great well fields, great engine. We have geographic distribution and very good capacity. So that's a comment on the website. I will make that statement here and now. And
we post the studies on the website. We post the studies on the website.
Mr. Rossi, you've had your moment. This is mine. I will have. I'll have. Yes. Okay. I'm sure you will. All right. In terms of the PDD, that is, and I would encourage. We're still taking comments on that. There are people who are still commenting on it. It's on the website, and we will be obviously getting back to that and dealing with it. But right now, we are all about, to be honest with you, we are all about the budget. We're consumed with it, getting the budget together and getting that out. But we know that that is out there. Anybody who wants to comment can still do it. And in terms of that, the fact that we have a proposed PDD and it's sort of like a moratorium, that doesn't quite, I don't know, make too much sense to me, because before we didn't have a PDD and we didn't have development either. And now we have a PDD proposal. It's giving a lot of power to the fact that we just have a proposal and that is acting like a moratorium. So it's almost, it's just difficult to imagine that our not doing something has so much power when we had the same result when the PDD didn't even exist in draft form. In terms of the FOIL requests, I will say to you that they will be responded to in a timely and legal manner as required. And Ms. Speidel, I think that I'm sorry you are so distressed, but I have to say that there has been a great deal of attention paid to this. We have sent the police department out to help you twice. There is an animal control person in the town of Milton, and we spoke to him, I think when we saw him up in, he's a new animal control person, and we mentioned this case, your case with him, and he says that you've been in touch with him as well. So I will follow up with him tomorrow and see where we are. Jen and I am. Ms. Speidel, he was brand new. What I'm saying to you is, well, then maybe perhaps it was Superintendent Ostrander. Have you been in touch with him?
I have not. I
Okay.
just sent that email that was sent to the rest of the village, and there's no communication there.
Okay.
None.
We have communicated with you, Ms. Speidel, on a number of occasions. And all I'm saying, excuse me. You had your say. All right, I am responding to you. What I am saying to you is that when we were visiting the town of Milton, I believe it was Superintendent Ostrander who said that he was aware of the issue, and we did bring it up to the new animal control person, and I will follow up with him tomorrow. We did raise the issue with him, Jen and I, when Ms. Moskowitz and I were there. Okay, so that is all. Anybody else have any comments?
I just want to emphasize that we all drink water, and we all care a lot about the water. And I can assure you and everybody that we are assiduously and with great attention, paying as much effort as we can to the improving the water situation here where it needs improvement. So I appreciate Trustee Raymond has repeatedly, probably 3 times in the past 2 months, updated the entire village on what we're doing with the water in great detail. He is an expert on civil engineering, so he knows a good deal about what he's talking about and reports and these studies. And if you go back and look at what he said over the past several months, you'll see that a lot is going on, and we are paying very close attention to the issues that are there and what we improve. So we are very concerned about the water without alarming people, because the water is perfectly fine. Like any system, it needs regular updates. It takes a lot of money to do that, and we are working on that. Unlike some of the.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Dash. All right. So let's see. We are now. I will discuss this and I will get back to you on that. Okay. I'm not going to decide this now. I have to. Okay. So I have to talk about the practical side of this, but I will get back to you. And thank you for the suggestion. Okay. We are going to enter into an executive session for the purpose of, I need a motion to enter into an executive session for the purpose of discussing matters leading to the appointment or employment of particular corporation related to the water feasibility study and the grant. May I have such a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, may I have motion made by trustee Raymond? May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Second made by trustee Foremost. All right, we are going to go into executive session. We will be back. I do not know how long this will be. We will be back to adjust our, to adjourn, obviously, whether or not we'll take any.
Roll call. Second, but there was
Oh,
no...
I'm second. I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we're going to go into, who said, trustee Foremost. Trustee Foremost, second.
Valid reason.
And she should rephrase it from valid.
It is a valid reason.
Which rephrase was?
Yes, she did. It was directly from the statute.
Yes, yes. I was going to say that we will be back. We will be back. We may take action. I'm not sure if we will or we won't, but you are welcome to stay, and the recording still runs, right?
You can either keep it running or you can turn it back on when you come back.
You know, I think it's probably, is there a time limit on it?
No, what normal.
Okay, and so how would I end it? You'll have to show me how.
You want to end it now? Is it done?
No, because we're going to come back, and if we take action, we're going to want it on. So I think we should just leave it on. Okay. Yeah, we're going upstairs.
Release the water.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure. Julie, if you want me to leave the speaker? Yeah, but I'm not going to leave.
I'm going to bring this to case I need to.
If you guys want to put something together, and I'm happy to give you guys total credit for it, but if there's anything I can do. Thank you. I want to ask you one question because I believe in respect, whether you live or not. I can put how do you pronounce like a Bruce name somewhere else? With the last one. I'm rolling out. We're not going to they sent their letters today. I'm going to same room. Like that's the same chapter we have. There's audio. You should have money. So like the fireworks, shoot it. No, I think they are paying for it. I do. $4,000. No. I've got to figure out.
Thursday, well. But I only sent that yesterday. Oh, hey, I just don't remember this. You know what?
No, and that was me, and I was going to tell you.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. So I only just saw because your comment didn't go to the main thing. It went to a separate tab. I didn't know it was there. She posted that
right, but just other companies who are other pages. But even on top of that, like I even forgot to say, the fact that the village Facebook page doesn't allow for engagement or comments, that's not okay by me.
And that was a later decision, but doesn't mean that everybody else would abide by their decision.
But the thing is, it comes with training and expertise and knowing how to navigate them. And it's not that hard to find. We have been in the social world now for how long? 15 years. Right. There are criteria. There are guidelines for government. Like, this is the best way to do it. Like, you don't need to invent the wheel. But it really, this is where it's so delicate in the social space. It's delicate because if you want to build trust and use social to inform, which is huge, you have to be able to put your face in the name.
That's right.
And build that trust. People are still human people.
Well, and that's where, and we're
how are you?
I got one. People in my age doing it. I'm pretty
Agreed.
35.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All of this talk about the social crap, there's a whole big section of this community that you totally ignore, and you just don't even care.
It's very easy to wrap up in thinking that everybody has to.
All it is surveys, everything else. And I just went and took a class. I learned so much about social. But I don't associate. I hate it. I don't have a Facebook page. Mary doesn't tell me what's going on.
Well, a lot of those cities, they don't have Zoom. What the hell is Zoom? We put our go fast.
You know. Portion of this group.
And it's the generation, the half generation of me. I am barely there at 60. This is where you're supposed to say.
I'm 35.
It's that generation, that 65, 70 and over. Foolishly.
And then what you know, it has to, in my mind, it's only like 5 years old, probably even a little longer. But Joe Ryan and I just got chit-chatting and we got a little laughing because he had been gifted at that point with a new idea or whatever. And we joked about that because that's how grandparents are seeing the raise kids these days.
Yeah.
And then you know how like
that's the only thing I use.
Right.
My 80-year-old parents were like, well, show us that video of Facebook. And we're like, you're not on Facebook. There's a reason you're not on Facebook.
This is somebody last week. They closed the building. Right. I knew that. You went on the website. Right. I opened the door. People came in and called and I asked questions. Yeah, I took care of the business.
Because they're not online, it's not on Facebook.
That was all of them. Right. The point is that it's on.
If Don Weeks doesn't read the closing,
oh yeah. Closing are online. They scroll.
How many people actually streaming is such a thing? So the point is, and with all of my, I never multi-level communication. You know what? It is a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but our audience has social fracture.
It was really, so who do you pick? It was really cool. I'm talking right for 20 minutes.
Thank you. Bye.
Nobody's busting my stones to sit on a phone and talking to people and talking to people. This will probably be all on. Oh, it probably is. Is it still around?
one of the young girls, I actually tracked her down. I tracked her down to California. She's in her 30s now. She actually has a salon where she's doing like hair wax. Yes, but she is one of a handful of women who filed lawsuits.
Yeah, it's still wrong.
Or intimidation.
That'll all be played back.
Yeah. And here's what it is. This happened within a dozen years. So when we people go through something serious and they oh God, I don't know.
All they talk about ways to support each other, and everything is to support each other. About all this stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to my
Probably can, but you know what? Say hi.
Hi. I don't even know if the audio is working because I know I couldn't see it. But the publisher talked about and
Wait, start over.
the opportunity.
It must be that in that.
Oh, look here, hold that.
The opportunity. Oh, I don't want to hold it on one switch.
Oh.
Anyway, sorry. I didn't get my full public comment out. I was distracted. The public hears often about transparency in government and trust in public officials. So the opportunity to educate and utilize and interact social tools effectively has an amazing opportunity. So I suggest it's time to adopt guidance as other federal, state, and local government agencies have in the interest of transparency and to build trust and effective dialogue within our community. Contrary to recent statements by Mayor Fitzpatrick of they don't understand the complexities of a topic, this community is very well educated and informed and filled with a number of people who have direct, perhaps different experiences which could elevate a conversation. And identified today as co-admins on various Facebook group pages, trustees fall short of earning credibility and trust when engaging by not identifying themselves elected as a public servant come with the responsibility of public. Trust in public statements diminishes when created behind a curtain. And I'm sure the village attorney would agree mitigating risk to the whole government body would be prudent. Let's see here. I stole it. Oh, I'm putting my glasses on.
Oh, your hair looks nice.
Why, thank you. There we go. The good thing about what I see is acquisition technology. The website is great. I see some effort, and I think that is really quite stellar. But we have to do more in terms of personal responsibility and properly using social tools and digital tools to properly communicate, let people ask questions, and build transparency and trust in public officials. There is no other reason to do otherwise. It's time to go a little further. Criteria starting with public official guidelines for crisis communication, neighborhood engagement, versus top-down dictatorships. Humanize, build trust.
I like the sidewalks.
Yeah, educate and listen for conversation. Evaluate if soapbox strategy, where the focus is on one individual, is an appropriate strategy, or if more of a dinner party style of engagement where everybody has to be at the table is a better choice. Managing effective conversations is possible when there is a good leader to help make it happen.
Amen.
Thank you. Ashley Blake, Google her, 21-year-old girl.
I can't believe the level of lack of transparency in this water situation we are going into. Like, we're going to tell you what we want to tell you, and all the other facts that matter, we're going to just hide them from you, yada, yada.
I can't get over how many questions were being raised, just actual questions like, hey, what's going on? And an entire thread, just delete it.
Yeah.
Just delete it.
Multiple.
So
Multiple.
Don't tell me the whole community has been well informed.
Accusing me of grandstanding on them when I don't have other accounts like that. You're grandstanding. Sorry to tell you.
And that made me angry. That information is still fluid, and if it is not available, just share it. What is the big deal? Put your face out there. Hey, this is my credentials. I'm an engineer. I want you to know, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why that is so
When
difficult.
basically says he agrees the water study should be on the Facebook page or on the web page.
Why not?
I mean, so 3 out of 4 people running for office right now agree, and one person that doesn't has most control over it, I guess. But what does she like?
Well, if it's a non-issue, then temper the issue.
If it's a non-issue, temper the issue. If it's an issue, then we have a right to know what the issue is. Because you're talking to us like you're 5-year-olds right now.
But I can't, you know what's still.
Or where her underneath, where of some
Right,
sort
We
of.
can't understand the complexity.
Right.
But I understand, studies and things out there, but I still am not getting an answer to the question of, okay, if we know, Trustee Raymond said, oh, well, that's 75 years ago. Well, I'm pretty sure he's been in church now for 4, right?
Yeah.
4 years?
A chunk each.
So just fill in the gaps for me.
Well, it's another case of we have seen nothing. We are getting fed little tidbits of information at their leisure that benefit them, and not seeing the whole big picture because we don't understand the complexities. I'm the one that frequently explained to the entire village the 3 facets of your water system, which you sat there telling everybody which is water tower everyone. Production, storage, and transport. Tonight, for the first time, we actually talked publicly about the fact, since Larry told us the pumps were in order, that the pumps still aren't installed. They're still not installed. 6 months later, we still don't even have them in 6 months later.
But what I'm seeing is, the problem that I see is Sean does have an engineering background, and we know that, but why not?
He's not a hydrogeologist.
But still, he has, enough
credibility to speak intelligently. It's like, why not put your face up there and say, hey, listen, temper the topic, answer the question.
When you said nor will it be for some time instead of it's not an issue, those are two entirely different things. But
the gap that I'm still trying to fit in is, okay, if I know that like 75 years old, okay, well, it's 5 years old, great, it's 5 years old. But you've been in service for 4, so fill in the gap. Just tell me why nothing's even done. If there hasn't been enough money.
You sure the water tower back August 23rd? If that's what you was responding to, August 23rd was when she was leading the okay. That's what he was responding to. And he basically said, look, the pumps being fixed is to learn, but that was an imminent threat to the system you basically made it. The pumps aren't replaced. So I'm a little scared by that fact that I was going to operate in the assumption that fix those pumps.
Did you know? But do you remember, and this is again, maybe, I think it was maybe, it was only 4 or 5 years ago. But I remember the Ramada was talking about even the water meter, because some water meters were either broken or something like that. But so the revenues were a little off in accuracy. On top of the fact that things are obviously not functioning properly. So again, my gap. Okay, whatever. History. Why in the past 5 years something? If the repair plan is 10 to 15 years, why didn't it start 5 years ago?
Because we are not testing our own size. That's what we're doing. Like I said, it's in every 7. By the way, she quotes the wrong pump, the wrong well. 4B is not the one that's the concern. It's 4A. The geyser 4A pump or well is the issue.
I just wish like this doesn't have to be so complicated. Just help people. Let them decide. But let the people decide. Well, we don't think people are going to want to pay this.
He doesn't realize tonight. That he actually admitted to more problem than good. Because again, if the pumps haven't been replaced, and we all were operating on the assumption they were, and that was going to be a possible cause of imminent water collapse, then either Larry was lying, I don't believe Larry was lying, or we still are in a little bit of a jeopardy position with pumps. Then the well field question comes next. Then the John Street power comes after that. Okay? We don't have $2 million ready to spend, or even millions. We get that. We do have 50,000 from federal funds.
You know, and not to I feel like it's freaking voiding me all over again, because this, for me, it's always been a thing like, what are the numbers? Nobody wants to talk about the numbers. But you know what? I don't care if it's this or this, but tell people the numbers. Give people the benefit of the doubt to choose for themselves what they're willing to pay and what it is that they're buying. Just tell people, let the people.
I hope anybody listening still that it might be listening to us right now over here in our conversation, which is fine. Please submit a question next week on water. I would love to talk about water all night with you on that debate, because it is such a clear and present problem, and we just learned more problems. And if those studies aren't available by the debate night, she's got to explain.
Right, and this is the topic. Do you guys remember how raged I got over just asking questions about the numbers, only to find out, guess what, a couple of years later, we couldn't afford it. And even the people told it, couldn't afford it. And the whole conversation got sidetracked and distracted.
You want to hear something scary?
Yeah. But this is like
water funds are supposed to be used for only water. Right. Here's what auditing is. Larry wanted to follow that rule of audit. Right. The accountant said you can't afford to do it, so we can't do it right now. So essentially, the village is doing something they shouldn't because of a necessity right now, wanting to steer those water funds into water. So water funds are should be used for the purpose of, as Bush keeps pointing out, fixing the water system, keep getting diverted improperly into other categories. Now, I understand we need the village to run and we have to use money where we can right now in the initiative. But ultimately,
really, I mean, I'm sure the village.
It's that much money in play.
I got you.
So if that money wasn't in play, then we would be broke. We'd be broke
So
multiple
it's
times
almost
over.
like the concept of it's like the concept of training sessions.
So when
we're going to keep it for that.
When I say water for this village is a business, it is truly a business because they are that reliant on money. That reliant.
Performance evaluation.
Not that.
Employment contract.
That's not all.
Collective bargaining, compensation or other personal actions, including the right to work and proper activity. Legal issues and attorney compensation in order to maintain attorney client.
Discussions for RFP classification, unless you're actually going to hire them today, but where was your RFP first evaluated back in the year? Discussion. How do we jump from a proposed RFP scenario to tonight's executive session? I'll get that. That's it.
So what about just come back to the money before your discussion? And tell me if I've missed something. And I love the fact that, you know what, we've been able to get some grants. I think that's great because grant writing, I couldn't do it. I really couldn't do it. As much as I write and do that, I literally could not do it.
Want to hear a story about grants?
But here's my
question.
Because I know how this works. What's the plan B? Because not every grant is approved, right? We know this, right?
Or the grant, the way they're approaching the grants, you're not going to get the actual infrastructure grant for how many years because you just need a grant to study right now, so that you can succeed in getting great infrastructure.
So let's say, so what would happen if, what would happen if pumps failed and we had a problem and they've been using the money? These 4 people become responsible for that misuse of funds.
They would basically come back to 2 things: previous administration, which you should probably technically, and the auditor saying that you can't, because of the dire need funds where they are.
I'm sure the auditor would say it that way. They may say you can't afford that. This is not what I would do now. You're in a precarious position, but what you should be doing is that. So if he or she is identifying themselves against lawsuit, but these guys are putting themselves up for. That's why they're being so shadowy. They're betting that nothing. They're hoping nothing will happen, but they're trying to play dumb that they know what's going on.
Is the current budget, the current operating budget, that's available?
It is, but not the full category. We saw that it's between one VC and one other. It's not there. Every line has its own page.
I wish I could have heard. I could not. I wanted to hear that comprehensive plan presentation.
What she came here and talked about the budget properties and development of those. Did she?
No, she talked about global warming and how it's going to affect us, and we're going to have charging stations.
Marilyn's a nice person, but she's a bobblehead for anything Liz and Christine said. Yeah, Marilyn, right here. And it was embarrassing because at least make the appearance that you're not in the bag on the situation. At least make the appearance that. Apparently, yeah, she's always talking about stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, I just wish I had gotten here.
It's absurd. It's the environment.
No.
But you know what, guys, get it done. Be relevant to what's pertinent to now.
The PDD isn't the way that they bought the PDD is not acting as a moratorium. If I'm a developer and I know there's a PDD coming up that's over restricted and illegal, but still could be passed. And right now I'm sitting thinking about investing and moving forward. I can't move forward in this field because I don't know the law.
So that's
essentially.
About Angelica. Yeah. That completely. I think it was just a conversation, just chit chatting with someone, and it dawned on me. I'm like, well, yeah, whatever happens.
This is a shadow moratorium that we're doing right now for those properties. Because anybody who has any common sense in development won't touch it until they know what to They're gone. And so they brought up only Kitty Ballston is in play, but I've heard varying degrees of where we are.
Oh. But, I mean, but that guy is incredibly developed. They're involved in the community. Any developer with good reason.
Okay. The sale was one thing, that's what you're talking about. But then it resold. Okay. And now somebody is buying it again and doing it. Oh, no. Let me tell you something. And I'm honest. If I see anything in a law study, my witness, that suggests that if you have a lifespan that is running shorter than we are comfortable with water production and storage here, I would declare a witness state systems state of emergency on that aspect and take care of it myself, because I'm not going to sit here and let our water go down the tubes the way that they seem okay with right now, the way that they're acting. If I see one thing, well, you know what? I don't care if it's election year or not. It's water. It is well beyond all of this. Oh, come on. I can't even get light stuff in that. No, and I think it's honored you say when, because you guys know, like, even though publicly you might see a person or conversation or person you can always guarantee that when you have those multiplied by that, like, there's that many people watching that maybe aren't comfortable with you. So how many people in our just, we're talking 5,000 people, we're talking a ton of perspectives interested in the topic and just see the entire conversation, just like that. By the public official or surrogate. Let's talk about Lisa's okay. Whether you like tax or not, here's the problem like that. We just ticketed 28 people for sidewalking crash. There's a neighbor that is clearly letting her cat run loose against what our village code states. Why haven't we cited that person in the last 3-4 months about this and threatened in a similar fashion? Why can we do it in this drop by hat when it's the ICE situation, which should have been handled a little more diplomatically than what the hell she suggested?
And they never had either. Like, did anybody get?
One neighbor expressed this to me a problem. Okay, well, don't be over 27. 27,
but I asked, like, did anybody get the required, like, a final notice, like, hey, listen, just in case you don't know what this is, because any community has people move in, move out.
If it's 28 people in the 3 street stretch, basically, that is a failure of government, not a failure of citizens. Okay? That's it.
But I literally don't know. Like, did anybody get, like, hey, this is a 24-hour notice, and here's a contact where if you are physically unable or you need assistance, communicate with us, or, and if you don't, fine. You know what? If you know the rule and you just ignore the rule, fine.
Liz was walking the streets on the first day we did door-to-door that Friday. We couldn't sidewalks we wanted to because we're all ice. She was walking Mitchie in the street, the dog, and we got the pet Mitchie and all that stuff, so that dog could find out what happened. And it took her 6 days or 5 days before she goes up on Facebook and acts like she's suddenly aware of the situation. It's like, A, we're aware of the situation the previous Friday. B, instead of going to Christina saying, hey, a lot of these neighbors right now can't do the ice. It's clear we need to, as a village, lend a hand and figure out what we can do, maybe reach out to them. No, our first comment about the situation was, go cattle on your neighbor. That's our village of friends.
Yeah, and I always, she's hard to accept because I always default to, well, assume someone doesn't know. She's like, nothing. Don't assume someone doesn't know. For whatever reason, or they're not clear.
Brownfield opportunity. Larry went to Liz and said, hey, this grant. This is something we probably should apply for. Would you do it? No. We won't qualify. So,
You know where we live?
Larry had to go to a third-party grant line. There's some money up front, I believe, although that's generally not the way you do it, but he did. We got it. Why? Why did she determine wrong? We haven't been there. Why wouldn't she at least take a play for it from their asking to? And the spirit of cooperation is something that wasn't always cooperation. Yeah, they take credit for the brownfield opportunity.
Yeah.
Always.
And kudos, you know what, I think, you know what, that's amazing. For someone to have that skill, to have that talent, but it can't be the only, that's like doing scratch off blocking tickets, you're planning your retirement.
Well, here's what I would say about this. If you're years down the line of an issue, you're too late to go for a grant for that issue because it's breaking currently, whatever is the issue, and it's going to take 3 to 5 years minimum to get the grant ultimately for what you need. And so you're going to end up with a bigger problem here. See, for instance, the Walsh assisted grant for the valves. Okay, you got a grant for the valves, but it ends up being it wasn't the valves just the issue, it was the pumps because we waited probably too long for valves. So the grant covered the valves, we had to cover the cost of the 2 pumps that are still not being installed. Right. That's what happens when you wait too long to fix your issues, and then you go to a grant.
If you get them.
But usually you need a little bit of quick action when you spot the issue, so you can say, I have a year or 2 before I actually fix this, or I can do some temporary fixes. So let's go and get the grant filed now and see what our prospects are. If we don't get the grant, then we have to fund it some other way. They have waited so many years on well 4, for instance, that it's an every 7-year thing. Bro said it to me himself. It's an every 7-year phenomenon. Not guaranteed it's going to work the procedure that we always do to free it back up. Right. But if they keep waiting, somebody else has said to me, they're playing Russian roulette. The longer they wait, the longer they're playing Russian roulette. I want, if there was a report per se given today, I want that report. Where is it? Why are we selectively reading? So I believe what the voters asked for 401 coming up tomorrow, and they asked about communication, getting broad-based support type stuff. How would you do it? My answer is we're going to do a 60 to 90-second public comment for every issue discussed, except for routine budget transfers. Every issue discussed, we're going to have public comment 60 to 90 seconds, so that every trustee up there, including me as mayor, would have to listen and understand that they don't necessarily know what the public wants. Yeah. They assume every none of this, we're going to wait till the end of the meeting and then we're going to have a one-way conversation, basically. We're going to stop the meeting and you have 60 to 90 seconds for everybody else to speak. Finish. You know what? It may take a while. You know what? It's about time we let the public speak because they're too afraid to listen.
But make them feel comfortable. Hey, still invite them. Yes.
I was wondering.
He did not have contact with one person. He was typing away on it.
Oh, he's about to slam me there on his.
He was doing that through the whole meeting.
I know.
I have no idea. What is she doing?
This is the reason why I don't want Zoom to be utilized for our debate next week. Because remember last time it looked like he was reading something off.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So the whole idea was get in a room, table, technology, do all notes, you do notes, so people can see your notes. Right. And we have a conversation.
And I hate to be like a broken record, but we
we now live in a world of amazingly simple, multi-platform technology to include as many as possible in conversation. Why would you resist the opportunity? Like,
hey, I would love to have come around idea shopping with all this community. By the way, he wants me on committee or something like that. Okay, absolutely. Because you bring something to the table here that maybe we don't have. But either way, you're starting as trustee. This first point probably is a good idea. No.
Question for somebody's agenda when they don't even know what's going on. Who they're being associated, who they're associated.
Sure. First, that is paid or due. She's not enough committee.
Yeah, and I'm not this old timer, but you want to know what the person's about. So he's already, I already have seen him. That doesn't fit as a non-person to me because he's not willing. He doesn't even know what sort of diapers he's getting involved.
I've worked with John. I've worked with Larry. I've worked with Scott. I've worked with Jim Samanik, the planning board, studying each area. And it's one of those, okay, I may not have held positions, but I definitely was involved to make sure that, municipal issues were handled correctly. Either on that line or they had questions themselves. Oh, so, they're going to say, you're not. Well, yeah. He wasn't here for me. I don't want to use suggestion as already in here. But it's questionable that you just not even trust me. That's not right. I know. Mm-hmm. She's very likable.
He seems very likable.
It's interesting to know about the fact that we actually have a voice. I'll say Marlon. Well, I'm sorry that I'm not sorry.
And more people are not unintelligent. People want to be informed. So inform them.
Lisa. Yeah, I look at made her more upset. Not just made her more upset. But that is like Scott, I talked to Scott. Okay, I talked to Scott about this issue. They were waiting for the guy to start on the 14th. Obviously, there's an activation where you're not going to do that for the first time. But I don't believe he has spoken about this. They have brownie on it. And again, the whole issue is why is it Dave O'Connor as code enforcement putting something on the neighbors?
This is the rule. This is you're in violation.
The police would, I don't know. But the police have video from her porch, so you would think that they would have some verification at this point. But that, I should have put 100 years ago. That was when I realized that thank you. Oh, you're my world. Motion. I still remember the young girl. She had a tumor. She didn't know. She literally, I remember standing actually not looking at it, but the entire, it was worse than it was worse. And I remember the guy not only but having that was not that I can feel like I think about it. So hate that. That's the word. Yeah, so that's like a very real problem. I keep this on. That is very real. Oh yeah. You can go deal with a dead body. Magic welfare check. I'm seeing it on iPad app and the iPhone app. So
I mean,
but Larry,
so of course he was already faced with, I said, either come to me, I said, or and he, but he knows that he's fine then. Yeah. So I said, you know what, but then it's,
Well, I don't know.
basketball, general zones, on athletes and so forth. WPI is supposed to on this, all those guys.
My bills at the phone shop. Huh? I can't help it, so I he's 15. Makes you go out every 2 minutes. And I can
Easter egg hunt in the village? Just something in the village. It's like, no, well, it's right there across water. Some of the waters, you just pressing that.
Meeting after meeting.
Was there ever any?
Yeah, it was up to me. It was the most recent one was me in public comment. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And then she decided a video would be. And then I decided to put her video against Larry and documentation. And now it's like, oh, this is a question we have to discuss. No kidding. What do you think? Yeah. Sean's presentation was like, no, this year, we're just doing studies. We've got updated studies.
But that's my question. So the 5 years.
For 4 years.
4 years. What got in the way of this? Because you can see and we know it's something. Okay, that's not easy. But that's my point. Building that gap for me. Okay, yeah. It's a bitter pill.
It's one of the ones. Right. He's an engineer.
Just open.
Same engineer that decided it was a good idea. All those other years that he used to be a opponent for and then he was rendering advice on it. Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is, it's money. Tell me we don't have the money. Okay.
That would be a lie. I think that puts them in. Right. It is. That's it. Yeah. That's what it's going to be. No, it's like the fire money. Thanks to the council. It does. Minor. But it's the town of Milton. There's a compact, but not inside. So when I get my goal, you're not going to declare tax law on either one. So basically, just my village tax is funding that which sliver that we're paying as a village for part of that. It's going to basically general system tax. And the fire department is in charge. Right, the facilities are owned by the village. However, we have some budget workshops or we have that off. I've always wanted to ask, but Julia asked, let's say that we're starting off. So worst case scenario, best case scenario. How long can this village survive? Let's say if the money for the water bill only went to the water. Right. Let's say the fire money only went to the fire. How long could this village survive?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, where is that money going? That the water money. So a quarter of our budget is being mishandled, misdirected. Thank you. If that ever comes to light, and they were forced to correct that, how would we an increase in our taxes through it will have to go up, not even 20, that's 200. Yeah, 250% probably. And their taxes would become which would
right. Even with that being said, I would still be looking at yeah, of course. And you know, I don't think there's a happy medium. God start something.
But part of this discussion is, is why we really need to sell property since it's the only way to, increase tax revenue to describe, which is different in a way.
Somebody with that brain anyway.
The level of business that actually is it's been doing it, you know, for quite some time, because this team, I remember, now what was that? It was part of this community, right? This was a community where people knew, like, you know, these guys would come in, and he would, like, go in their house, open the door, you know, food service meeting. And then there was the variety, you know, there was a brand new, this community had services and merchants that were right here. So there was, I mean, you know, a reason for people to work here. No, I can't remember. Oh, it was Jim.
I was just going to say,
it was
Jim. Process, yeah.
Yeah. So he gave me, this was just a great lesson. And just talk about how people live. You know what I mean? And how people here. This, to my understanding, was, you know, it was a working class community that was actively sustaining itself. And, you know, Saratoga Bay came out there, and then, you know, there was an effort to attract people to visit Ballston as a tourist destination, but it was never really a tourist destination to begin with. It was a working class community that needed products and services to sustain. They needed this resource. They needed that. Yeah. It still is. And it still is. But it didn't get the government thing, and that's no.
Well, you need to stop the shop.
Right.
Well,
which are lovely.
Well, those during our welding, like gas company, probably they get a fortune in sales tax. I would think the amount of sales tax probably a good percentage, 10%, comes in one place.
Yeah.
Places like that. Humvees. Oh yeah, most people don't even. Who knows how they still live.
Well, but that is honestly, in discussion, because there was, you know, the merchant conversation, and I remember because the no, this is a different little shop. There were a couple of those shops, but these are the inside when there was a car show. They weren't open to the offering day. And it's like, well, I feel for you, but if another merchant comes in that offers to the community that's not going to get cars, I don't know if it's more legitimately angry with that.
I'm not. Okay, because it's very well the other time. You know, the chocolate in fact. That's one thing. Yeah. You know, right now,
They're not involved in the why should I as a resident start any of those stores when I was funding the program? None of that was done. Yeah, we were a little
no, but you were right here, and I can tell you.
Yeah, I was doing it.
Oh,
she told me like. You had to actually, from our perspective,
no, but I could hear the difference. One
for solar. During a mix-up session. During a mix-up session. Usually an executive session, no one because we're having discussions about things other than in closed field. No. No. Oh.
But and there's like they don't have their chat. So I tried reading that. But to be able to chat or to identify, you know, a lot. And that was one of them.
I'm good at that one. Maybe you're working on your book.
I'll take your taking notes. Everything you guys are saying.
For everybody on the.
We did have one moment in time.
Actually,
Oh, the table right.
No.
And this is-
It's
recorded,
It is going to be on
We went to the code of
Well, I don't see anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Ooh. Christine.
There's an interesting law, actually, they were shutting down clubs, they were pushing lounges to bars, or yet more than 2 people were dancing, they would be shut down, the idea that they weren't, I can't remember the word. New York City, bars and lounges can allow more than 2 people, I don't know how you should do it, otherwise it's categorized as, this word I'm looking for, but, yeah, they were shutting down their tickets. Yeah, it's very good. It's like an old code that just never went away. They were actually useful.
Kind of like the fact that you're not allowed to carry a sundae in your pocket.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to carry a Sharpie in your pocket either. That's also on.
Well, that's actually just smart because I've had it. So, any pen in my pocket, I shouldn't be carrying.
You're not allowed to carry a.
Have you tried Massachusetts?
I lived in the dry town. You could not buy liquor at all.
That was the town of Argyle until about a year ago.
No kidding, they went
Yeah.
on dry.
They went on dry, which is Argyle Brewing Company. A friend of mine owns it.
Oh.
They're located in Greenwich because they couldn't be in Argyle. Argyle.
Like right.
Yeah.
I could use them.
What about the Ukraine thing? Did you get that sense of stuff?
No, we did not. This was not the purpose of the executive session, and it wouldn't be appropriate for them. I need to look into the practical side of this. Just give me, it's a very nice proposal, a very good, I appreciate it, but I need some time to look into it, that's all.
So just to help you, I just tell you what we plan to do.
I really would appreciate it. What I will do, no, right now, we gotta get through this, okay? I would really, all right, we're reconvening. It is 9:20. I will take her.
Yeah, I can take that.
Yeah,
you got it. Got the computer.
All right, 9:20. 28:22. It is 9:20. Okay, so we are now talking about here.
We came out of executive
We
session.
came out of
No
executive
action
session. All right, came out of executive session. No action taken in executive session. But we are here now to review the proposals, or to talk about the proposals for the water feasibility study. And we had, just to summarize, we had proposals from 3 entities: MRB, LaBerge, and Labella. And we had cost analysis for Labella, who is also currently our engineer, is $74,000. That would be the cost of the feasibility study. The cost for LaBerge would be $30,000 plus reimbursable expenses capped at $1,000 for the study and $250 per grant. And then the MRB proposal is for their cost is $55,000. So we're looking at $30,000, $55,000, $74,000. And what we have done is we have all reviewed the proposals at length, and we have done reference checks on all of them. And by reference checks, we mean not just, we didn't just call who they suggested that we call. When we do reference checks, we call, other than just the entity that is proposed. We don't just call the entity, the people that the entity suggested we call. We contact other people. So let's just have a discussion here about what we found or what we feel, and we'll go from there. Mr. Raymond.
Well, after looking at them all, and obviously there's a big gap between the various proposals. And looking into it further, obviously that's really due to the fact that there's a lot more offered in a little bit more in the Midland one, and more of a bare bones scope for the now, in conversations that Liz has had with LaBerge, that was my first flag. Is okay, well, is this a introductory offer? Add-ons? Oh, well, we need to do this, we need to do that. Their plan of attack apparently is if that additional information, additional things that we're getting up front from the other proposals, what LaBerge, I guess, tries to do their strategy is to hopefully obtain a grant, and then grant funds pay for those additional study components, which is a good strategy as long as you get the grant. Whether or not chances are increased significantly with paying almost double the money with the other ones, I'm not really sure. And I don't know based on their success ratio that's going out. So we also knew that Ravella already has stated in her FP that they're not going to be able to hit some of the. So since the purpose of this would be yes, to get the study, so we have it, but also the grant application, and the fact that they're also the highest price, I think that automatically would, which is sad because they are a village engineer, but I don't think in good conscience, at least I can't justify that. As far as MRB is concerned, they're an outfit out of Rochester, primarily because of the code office. I guess my thoughts on that are they look very qualified, have a very qualified staff, have done a lot of similar projects. Again, they're updating our digital files and models. So there's a lot more upfront systems on there. Now, that may increase your chances of the first time in for grant application. But I don't know if it increases it enough. Burge is local. I do know, I've worked with personally some of their staff, and they are very good, very qualified. The only concern I have with them, again, is the potential that there could be add-ons. They said they exclude some things like scope description. That may be required. Question. I guess, in my experience, a $25,000 difference, even if there was something add-on, I'm not sure if it would meet or so. They're losing everything out. Obviously, this is village money. I think we're pretty much. My mind,
if I might, one of the things, we put down notes from when we discussed things, and on that point, which Ben brought up, that it seems like maybe they weren't doing as much. They stated all of our engineering reports are designed to meet joint EFC, CDBG, DOH, USDA requirements, include identification of alternatives and the methodology for determining the recommended solution. So they said they meet the requirements of those grants, and those are basically the 4 granting agencies that pay for water, programs. So they indicated that, they don't, that it makes more economic sense to not do more than you need to get the grant, and then, take it out of the grant where you're getting multiple, times your initial investment.
Right.
If you get the grant. But
there could be a thing, well, we don't get the grant, and then next year you apply for the grant, and well, we have this thing, we've already had it in the feasibility studies of the other firms, then we increase our chances. Well, so we may get there anyways, but we're hedging our bets.
Well, the fact that we did that income survey, and our hardship increases, I think every consultant said, you know, that our chances are greatly increased because we are, you know, now a hardship community, and they sort of are first in line. So, you know, we've got good chances. Not, you know, no one can guarantee, but there's also the fact that the federal government is putting more money into these programs. So there's a bigger pool of funds this coming year than there has been in the past. So that, again, helps. I like LaBerge because they are a local company. The principal is going to be the project manager. The other things, when doing the reference checks, the references were frankly enthusiastic about them, and with quotes like "they're the tops." Stodax said they got the sewer put in the Amazon project. Very pleased with the whole team. Highly recommend. They had very good references. So I would go with those. Also, they're the least expensive.
I'm comfortable with LaBerge due to cost and their recommendations and their track record. I talked to Lavella, I was impressed by his responsiveness and flexibility verbally, but on paper, they are by far the most expensive and did not promise to meet the grant deadlines. Seemed to take the longest. I guess the last study they did for us took a while. So this is sort of red flag. So like that LaBerge is local and so
After my review, and Labella will still remain our village engineer and will, according to our contract, work with whoever we choose for this. And yeah, they were more expensive. They are good. I do. So, but the cost differential between 75,000 and 55,000, 30,000. Very, very wide, and I think that they all look to me to be good, conscientious firms. I like the fact that LaBerge is local and that a principal will be handling the job, and I mean that means a lot, and the fact that they did an awful lot of work at Corinth that apparently was very well done, and they were very enthusiastic about them. About LaBerge and their success rate with grants is good. Well, they all have good success rates, but really it's very unfortunate that Labella is saying, well, for two things, because they know us and that has weight, but they're also, it's costing quite a bit more money. And they are saying up front that they're going to miss those deadlines. So I would support LaBerge as well. I think one thing to point out in that not going with our existing firm is that our existing firm is being paid an hourly rate. So it's not like, we have a contract, that we're not using a resource that we've already paid for. So that, we work with Lavella on it. So when we ask them to do something, they charge us for time. Right. So it's not like we're, double dipping or wasting.
Yeah, there's no flag.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so,
Consensus, yeah.
mhm. Okay. In that instance, may I have a proposal, may I have a motion to accept the proposal from the Burrs in the amount of $30,000 plus grant application fees not to exceed $7,500
Per grant.
per grant, thank you. And said motion to authorize our attorney to create a contract with LaBerge and authorize, and further authorize me to sign the contract that the attorney comes to with LaBerge. And if you got that, then God bless you.
Put in there the maximum expenses.
Yeah.
That was-
Well, I put
no,
the
not
maximum.
not the 70,
Oh,
got that, 7,500, but also is there a maximum
Reimbursable.
$1,000?
Yeah, all right. So why don't you
All right.
read it
But I
back to
have
me? Okay.
Proposal to accept a motion to accept the proposal from LaBerge in the amount of $30,000 plus grant application fees not to exceed $7,500.
And reimbursable expenses not to exceed, capped at $1,000 for the study and $250 per grant. Okay? And then the longest run-on sentence in English history. Go ahead.
Motion to accept the proposal from LaBerge in the amount of $30,000 plus grant application fees not to exceed $7,500 each and reimbursable expenses not to exceed $1,000 for the study and $250 per grant, and authorize our attorney to create a contract with LaBerge and authorize the mayor to sign the contract with LaBerge.
Okay.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Said contract to be paid for out of ARPA funds. 20 ARPA funds. And we have $77,000 left in this fiscal year, so we should coming out of that. Right. Okay, so may I have somebody, I need somebody to make a motion. And then
Make that motion.
all right, motion made by trustee Raymond. May I have a second, please? I'll second that motion. Seconded by trustee Foremost. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, no one is opposed. Okay. Thank you, and thank you for your diligence in this effort. And I also, well, I thank Jeff, because Jeff looked at them all too and gave us input, which is a good thing. Okay, so the final, may I have a motion that vouchers number 21-01410 and 22-01082 to 22-01622 be audited, and the meeting adjourned at, it is 9:40 p.m. I have that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
I'll check.
Second by trustee, motion made by trustee Corman, seconded by trustee Raymond. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, guys, thank you, and make sure you sign this before you leave.
Oh, you have it?
Well, you all have one, but let's sign one and make it easy.
Sure.
Does anyone know how to turn that off?
Yes, I do. And Mark?
What?
Thought being first was easy, huh?
Right.
Mark, if you want to talk to me and you about this proposal and you can do it quickly,
Yes.
I would be happy to listen to you after the meeting. Okay. Let me just turn this off. But remember, you're dealing with a woman who hasn't had dinner, and I'm.
She's a little hungry.
I get a little.